Welcome, everyone, to Listen, Learn Music, presented by the Teenage Cancer Trust and KID. Now, the Teenage Cancer Trust supports young people aged 13 to 24 who have cancer. Sadly, this disease can have a huge impact on a young person's life and career because they may end up having to miss some college or have to drop out of their GCSEs. Things can go wrong. Now, inspired by some of these young people who are here tonight, we have brought friends from across the music industry together to offer valuable advice and insights into how you can break into the music industry. Now, the first half of the evening, our 5 panelists will be talking about their specialist areas and sharing their expertise and knowledge and advice with you guys so you can learn about how to get into the music business. Okay, first up we have Steve Tilley. He works for promotions at Kilimanjaro Live. He's responsible for those tiny little Ed Sheeran shows at Wembley Stadium earlier this year. Next up we got Nicola Roberts, who some of you may know from Girls Aloud. They know. Now, not only she has had a hugely successful career as an artist, but is now a hugely successful songwriter, penning hits for the likes of Little Mix and Cheryl. God bless you. Okay, next up we have Charli Scott. Charli is an artist manager at Turn First Artists. She looks after the careers of Nicola, Ellie Goulding, Rita Ora, and even more. I know, it's nuts. After that, we have the infamous Alan McGee. Now, Alan McGee founded Creation Records in the 80s and is responsible for breaking some of the biggest bands in UK history, including Primal Scream and Oasis. Oh, that's not enough enthusiasm. Do you guys know who this guy is? Okay, next, last but not least, we've got Public City PR's Emma Van Dice. Now, if anybody has ever read music magazines like Kerrang, chances are it's one of Emma's roster on the front cover. She handles PR for arena-filling artists like A Day to Remember and Deftones. Okay, now that is it. So we're going to get started. I want to welcome Steve Tilley, who's going to talk about the life of a promoter.
Okay, right, my name's Steve Tilley. I'm a national promoter for Kilimanjaro Live Limited. And yes, Ilya quite rightly points out we promoted 3 nights of Ed Sheeran at Wembley Stadium in July this year. That was 80,000 tickets a day, 240,000 people over 3 days. If I had £1 for every single person that said to me, was that just Ed and a guitar? And I said, yes, it was. I'd probably be able to put another 240,000 quid in the bank. But yeah, he played there on his own with a loop station and his guitar and his voice. Was anyone at the gigs? The rest of you couldn't get tickets, I guess. But they were phenomenal shows, and you know, Ed's established himself as a stadium act now, not just in England and the UK, but internationally as well. I think he's going to be a stadium act for a long time to come. So anyway, enough about Ed, enough about that for now. I'm a concert promoter, and a lot of people say to me, what does that mean? And it's quite hard to put it into words. It kind of means everything to do with a show, from holding the venue with whoever holds the date diary at the venue, to putting the tickets on sale, to designing the advertising, to dealing with the artists themselves, with their managers, with their tour manager, their production manager, their sound engineer, their record label, their PR, their publicist, their plugger, etc., etc. You kind of have to have a little bit of knowledge of all those different things to be a good promoter. You also have to be a people person, because you have to deal with the people coming through the front door. If they've got a problem with something, it might end up on your desk as well. So how the hell do you become a promoter? And how do you get to be someone who ends up putting on something at a football stadium? I ask myself that every day of the week. How did I end up doing a show with Ed Sheeran at Wembley Stadium?
Where did you start?
So I'm going to take you all the way back to the beginning. 14 years old, I managed to get a ticket to see Queen at Birmingham NEC. It was the first concert I ever went to, and this was in 1984. It was the Works tour, and Radio Gaga was a hit at the time. And I was 14. I'm from Consett, County Durham, small town in the northeast of England. I'm not from a rich background, working class background, very poor place. And I went to see Queen, and they blew my mind. Can you imagine watching Freddie Mercury and Brian May, etc.? I was on the front row. God knows how that happened. I was on the front row at the NEC watching Queen. I'm like, oh my God, I want to do something to do with that. That is it. People say to me, how did you get into music? That's how I got into music. Because every single thing I've done from there on in has been inspired by wanting to have something to do with music. So I started off by DJing down the church, because my mum made me go to church. Less said about that, the better. At 18, I went to university in Stoke. There was an advert on the window of the Students' Union for humpers. Humpers is not a word that we use anymore. Wonder why. Humpers back then meant loading PA into a venue. I got paid £10 a day. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I turned up, unload the van, get a backstage pass, get into the gig free with a friend, get drunk. Wouldn't let you do that now either. Health and safety's changed quite a lot. So £10 a day, 18 years old, Staffs University in Stoke. What an amazing thing to do. Like, I got in free, I could chat up girls, get to hang out with the band, all the sort of sad, boyish things that make boys want to become musicians. So, lo and behold, 3 years later, I am involved at the university, booking all the gigs at the Students' Union. I'm playing bass in a band. We're not very good, but in my head, I want to be a pop star. I want to travel the world. I want to be a rock and roll star. I want to do something to do with music. I used to sing backing vocals.
Can you sing for us right now?
No. So spent most of my 20s DJing in nightclubs, writing for the local newspaper, writing a music column, writing about bands that Alan signed to Creation Records, playing a lot of the bands that Alan signed to Creation Records at 2 or 3 indie nights I DJ'd at, playing in a shit band, excuse my French, but we got nowhere. By the time I got to 27, 28, I hated being a journalist. Just wasn't for me. And I was DJing a lot, and I started putting on some gigs at a local venue called the Sugar Mill. I opened a rehearsal studio, I opened a recording studio, I started, my own band had failed to get somewhere, we nearly got signed. By the time I was 28, we nearly got signed, but we're still not quite good enough. We were at what I call the arse end of Britpop at that point. We sounded like, sorry for swearing, we sounded like a cross between Supergrass and The Jam, just at the point that the music industry decided it wanted to sign bands like Ultrasound and Gomez and kind of left-of-centre experimental bands. We were a bit too pop and melodic for everyone at that point. Anyway, I'm nearly 30 now. I've given up trying to make it as a pop star. Starting to promote gigs seriously at my local venue, which was the Sugar Mill. This is now 1998, and for the next 10 years, built up the Stoke music scene, got a band signed to Island Records called Agent Blue that I'd found practicing down my studio. Went on to promote at the Sugar Mill every breaking band in the next 10 years. So we played Muse, 75 quid, played Coldplay, a couple hundred quid. We played, every breaking band of that 10-year period we put on. And in 2002, I bought the venue, bought a share in it. Again, we've got club nights. So basically, there's a business acumen to what I have to do. And when you run a venue and you're responsible for programming all the shows there, local bands, national bands, you pick up every single skill that a promoter needs. Accountancy skills, marketing skills, people skills. But the one thing that I still think, which is what takes me back to talking about Queen, is my passion for music. Even now, when I hear a new band, what I care about is how good is it? Do I like the songs? Does it connect with me lyrically and melodically? Do I like the people in the band? Do I like the manager? Do I like everyone around it? And if I just like the music, I let the industry take care of itself. And it's a really random business, and there's loads of amazing bands out there that don't make it, that should make it. And all I can do is, my role is one part of a big group of people that help our artists succeed. And I just choose things based on how much I like their music, and then the business comes afterwards. And so, with Ed, I saw him support Just Jack in 2009. Then I went to see him play Hoxton Bar and Kitchen in front of 30 people. And he was the same charming, endearing, funny, talented, melodic, stupidly talented guy then as he is now. And all I did was become part of a team of people that tried to elevate him. And we've just worked hard, and obviously you've seen what he managed to achieve. But the one thing he's got, and which I think I've also got is just a passion for what I do and self-belief. And also I try to be really nice to people, and Ed is really nice to every single person he meets, because niceness goes a lot further than being an idiot. So I think, are my 10 minutes up?
Yes. But guys, if you do have any questions later, we will be putting them to everyone after we are done talking to people. Next up, I would like to introduce, let's give them a clap. Next up, we've got the hugely talented Nicola Roberts, who has not only been a successful artist, but is now a songwriter. So, has songwriting always been something that you've been interested in?
Yes, I always used to write little poems when I was a kid and try and put the melody to the words. And even at school, I used to do little things like for tests and stuff, I'd make the answers into songs so that when I went into the exam, I'd remember the song and then I'd remember the answer. I just think music in general has just always been in me since I was, for as long as I can remember, and writing has just been part of that enjoyment process of music for me. So I don't know, it's just something that naturally I've always done.
Do you reckon you would probably write a song for an artist which was out of one of your exam papers?
Probably not, no.
You could do it. You should do it. It's fresh.
Absolutely
So how did you
not.
kind of make the transition from being an artist to songwriting for other artists?
Well, I used to write a little bit in Girls Aloud, so I've always written anyway. And then after that, I wrote my own record. And then in the break that we had, I was writing for Little Mix. So it kind of just happened. And then I had a bit of success with that, and I liked the feeling of somebody else taking the song that I'd written. It was quite a fulfilling feeling. So I was like, okay, I can do that. I could enjoy this a bit more.
Yeah.
And it just went from there.
It must feel like kind of like having your baby being played on the radio. It's like something has come from you but isn't quite you. You've kind of still got a connection with it, but it's not you. It's kind of
like, hopefully if I write a big song and it's like a big record for someone else, then I'll get that feeling.
right.
That would be nice.
Do you have like a process that you kind of stick with? Like any kind of methods with writing?
Every session is different, and it depends on like the artist that you're writing for or with. Some like to be in the room and don't really contribute, but some do contribute massively, so it's more of a back and forth process. I think when you're writing for someone else, it's more about it's more to do with the brain than the emotion. Like you go in and it's more about like the strategy of what does this artist need? What do their fan base want from this person? What would they say? What would they not say? What's their vocal range? So there's more brain that goes into it than actually emotion. Like if you're just writing for you, everything's just like from what you want to say.
Yeah. Do you find it would be more difficult to write for another artist then?
It is more difficult. It is more difficult because it's not you, so you're trying to take on someone else's persona and then give them that back. So it is more difficult, definitely, and then you have them going, I wouldn't really say that.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, let's start again.
In the past, did you find yourself ever doing that though? When you were working with another writer and you were writing for yourself, were the tables kind of ever turned?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I co-wrote my record with somebody, so she would suggest things, or whoever it was, the producer would suggest things, and I'd say, that's not really something I would say. So and actually you understand it better because you know how it feels on the other side. If I'd have never have been on the other side of the situation and then I'd have someone saying to me, but I wouldn't really say that, it probably would have wound me up a little bit more. Like, well, you know, it doesn't matter that you've not been to San Francisco. We can still sing about it. It's like, you know.
No, it's good. You've been in my shoes, so you get it.
Yeah.
Do you ever work with other people who do the music, or you just do the lyrics? How does that process work? Like, do you do the music and the lyrics, or do you always like to work with other people?
Again, it's different. Like, sometimes you'll go into a session and it'll just be the producer, and all he will do is the track. And he'll have no lyrical or melodic contribution whatsoever. So it's very much, those are the sessions that are harder because he sits at his laptop and he's finished his track. And then there's like this dead sort of 6-7 hour period where you don't talk to each other because you're just writing the song. And then they're trying to talk to you and you were like, trying to write the song, like, don't interrupt me. And then other times you'll walk in and it'll be a producer who wants to get involved with the content, and it's back and forth, so then there's much more of a buzz in the room, and it's more it's more exciting because if you come up with someone and then they're hyped, they're like, yeah, that's amazing, and it's more of like a group effort rather than just okay, let's just get stuck in and get this song finished.
Yeah, it's all about emotions, isn't it? It's all about actually connecting with what you're doing.
One of the hardest things as well is the fact that you're in a room, like you walk into a room sometimes with a different person. Like if you have 5 sessions in a week, you could have every single day might be with a different person. So it's like dealing with like a 12-hour day with a different person every single day. And sometimes you get, like most of the time you get the most amazing people but then there'll be the odd one where you just don't click with.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, this is
it's bound
hard.
to happen though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It happens all the time.
In your opinion, what makes a song good? That's such a big question, but I'm asking it.
I mean, if I knew that, then
right.
I'd be probably playing
what about you guys? Do you guys
like
reckon?
Ed, you know?
What do you guys reckon makes a song good?
Essentially, if it's a pop song or any song, it has to have a hook. It's got to be catchy. Doesn't really. I mean, some of the biggest songs to date that have sold. I mean, Jason Derulo, loads of stuff. Sometimes the content is so vague. It's just a line that makes no sense and it's just really catchy. It's just a dance
You know
track.
what to do
It's
with
just,
that big fat butt.
Exactly. That's what
Wiggle.
wiggle, wiggle.
Yeah.
You know,
We're reactive to music because of our emotions, and we're all different, so we all like different things. So it's like, to say what makes a good song is really difficult because you might love something that I hate and I think it's a terrible song, and
It's like saying what makes
vice versa.
art good.
Yeah, it's like it's that's exactly
It's about
it.
what
Nicola
resonates.
clash
It's
on
about emotional
music.
connection.
We do clash.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
If you write a song that could be played at your funeral, your christening, and your marriage, you've nailed it. And I think that, for example, Angels by Robbie Williams could be played at all three of those things. Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol could be played at all 3 of those things. The 18 by Ed could be played at all 3 of those things.
But that's because it's mainstream.
Yeah.
But it
It's
doesn't
got a catchy
necessarily
hook,
mean
like
that
it's
it's
got a hook.
like the best song in the world.
No. I think it is entirely
Subjective.
personal. You're entirely right.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to any budding songwriters?
Just keep writing, really. And I think the beauty now is that the internet is like such a platform for people. You can get your stuff on SoundCloud, YouTube. Like, it's made all of the doors a little bit easier to open. You know, like publishers and A&Rs are constantly online and seeing what's new and who's doing what. So I think it is definitely easier. Although saying that, it's a bit of a contradiction because it seems like it's swamped. Like there's so many people with their stuff online now, so it's hard to sift through what's actually good and what's not, you know. But just keep going, and if you're dedicated enough to what you want to do, then you will get there.
How would you get an artist to perform one of your songs?
Send
Are you
them a
involved in
song.
that?
Yeah. Well, that's like management or the publisher or somebody. If you go in and just write a song and think, oh, this would be great for, I don't know, I could really hear Paloma Faith singing this song. Let's send it and see if she likes it. And a lot of the songwriting is quite a frustrating process because, this is such a crude thing to say, but I say it all the time. I actually don't even think I should say it. It's like...
It's too late now.
Think about it.
Go on.
Listen, this is what it's like. It's like little sperms. And it's like only 1 or 2 will get through, you know? That's what it's like.
That is a great analogy.
So you write
Can we have a round of applause?
Yeah. It's
And
like
sometimes you might have twins.
Yeah, exactly. The artist, like, I'll take all 3, you know?
Might get a single and an album.
Yeah, exactly.
Incredible. So, one last question for you. Did you ever study songwriting, or would you recommend it somehow?
Sorry, what was that?
Did you ever study songwriting, or would you suggest someone to study songwriting?
I think you can definitely practice it. I didn't study it because I got into the groups when I just left school and then was in the group, so I didn't go to college or university or anything. But I think I don't know if they teach songwriting at college or university. I don't think that's an option, but I just think practice makes perfect. Like when I first started, like I listened, even to like a year ago, I'll listen to songs that I've written and think, oh my God, what the hell was I thinking? It's so rubbish. And then it just gets better and better and better and better. It's just like practice, you know? And the different people that you learn with, that you write with on different levels. So like if you go in with somebody who's incredible at what they're doing and then you learn from them and then you grow a little bit, you know?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, guys. Round of applause.
Thanks.
Remember, if you guys do have any questions as the night goes on, do make a note of them, and we're going to be answering them all later. Okay, next up, we have Charli, a manager from Turn First Eyes. She's going to tell us a little bit more about how to break into artist management.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I work for Turn First. We're a music management record label. We have an office in West London. We're actually changing our name and all sorts of things to First Access Entertainment. So we're still a bit of both companies at the moment, but our roster for management is, we have Ellie Goulding, we have Iggy Azalea, Rita Ora, Conor Maynard, and then me personally, I manage this lady here. So the sperm thing is great. It's fine.
It was the only way
yeah.
I could explain what it...
No, it's just funny. So I work for a company called Turn First, and we also have a record label. So we have people like Jack Garrett. I don't know if anyone knows him, but you definitely will soon. So we have all different artists. We have huge international artists, and we have emerging baby talent. We have songwriters. We have producers. And yeah, we do a bit of everything. So I've been there 4 years since its inception. My boss is a wonderful lady called Sarah Stennett. If you're looking to get into management or anything, or just interested in the industry, the people behind it, Google Sarah. She's amazing. Do you know Sarah? Yeah, she's great. She's done a lot. She's come from a law background, but she's the real visionary, and I'm such a music fan. So if you want to learn more about someone great in the music industry, definitely Google her, because she's taught me so much in the past 4 years. I've led projects, I've assisted on projects, and how I got into it it's what I've always wanted to do. And I'm really lucky because I've been able to do it straight out of university. I finished uni 4 years ago, and this is my first job. And it doesn't happen often. Some people really have to slog it out, and I really appreciate that I'm really lucky, and I'm one of the few people that got out of uni to do it, so I'm really lucky. But throughout university, I studied music management, so I'm really, really lucky. I interned at record labels, a label called Hassel. I was there for 3 years. I've been at publishing companies while I was there, while I was working a weekend job, because you just have to get into the industry as soon as you can, in whatever way you can. And that's the main bit of advice I would give throughout all of this, is just get experience. Be passionate and get experience. So management is hard work. It is 24/7. You might not have a weekend to yourself for a month. You might not have an evening free to yourself for a year. It's, depending on who you're looking after, what artists where they are in their campaign, you could be with them all the time, all over the world. But that's so much fun, like traveling and getting to go to record labels and meeting all these people and going to TVs and video shoots and stuff. If you want the lifestyle, it's great. But if you like to have your weekends to yourself, don't be a manager.
Don't work in the music industry.
Just don't work in the music industry, because it's such a lifestyle. Yeah, it is the lifestyle, and I think everybody in the music industry does it for the love, not the money. Sometimes great money, but you have to do it for the love. And I think if you're a music fan as well, it's so rewarding, because you just get to do so many cool things. I go to Reading Festival every year, and I still pinch I used to buy tickets for it, and now I'm really lucky I don't have to if I'm working with a band. And you have to just be really humble about it, I still pinch myself that I get to go to festivals and get to go to gigs and stuff, and it's my job. Like, I think it's the best thing in the world ever. So if you don't think it's the best thing, don't do it. I got into it. I went to university, but you don't have to have a degree in music management to get into the industry. Don't think that. It's so fun to go to uni and learn all these things. Like, I went to London Metropolitan and did music and media management, so I'm really grateful that I got all the experience of having law classes, music history classes, where we learned about the careers of, we didn't learn about classical music. We learned about an artist and how their business career developed. And that's really important, because then you learn names, you learn how record labels started and the people behind the careers. And that's really important, to sort of know who the people are in the industry. And I'll get onto that in a second. That's to do with networking. But we did finance modules, we did marketing modules, we looked at dissected TV and radio promotions, which we'll talk to you about in a bit. But we got to learn, what is expected of those and how they fit into a campaign and a career. So you don't have to go to university to do it if you're interning, if you've just got a passion where you can sit and Google how things work. You'll learn about how the industry works through that, but you really have to know your stuff. If you want to help an artist's career develop, you've really got to learn how to do it. One more thing I would just say about working with an artist is networking is absolutely key. You've got to know what's going on in the industry. And if for example, I look after Nicola at the moment as a songwriter, she was saying about, she wrote a song and she wanted, this is the email chain between us. I wrote this song, I think it would be great for Paloma Faith. It's my job to go to Paloma's management, to go to Paloma's label and be like, I've got this great song, I think it would be great for her. And so that's my job as a manager, to try and get that song to somebody else, but it's knowing who the people are, and it's just networking in that way. So that's what a manager does. It just talks to people, just gets to know people, and it's really good. It's really good fun. It's hard work, but it's really good fun.
Cool. Thank you so much, Charli. Guys, round of applause. Okay. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing you to a man who has worked with some of the biggest bands in UK history. I'm going to hand you over to Alan McGee. Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
Hey, man. You doing?
Now, when did you first become aware of music, and what made you want to have a career in music in the first place?
I never wanted a career.
No?
And what happened was I left school when I was 14 because it was in Glasgow and it was pretty rough. So I realised that if I kept going to that school, something bad was going to happen to me. So I stopped. For between about 14 to 23, I had jobs in building sites and British Rail and stuff like that. And then I started this club. I moved to London when I was 19, and I started this club called the Living Room, and then because we started making about £1,000 a week out the club, and I was only a kid. I was only about maybe 22 or something like that. After I got pissed for about 3 months, I then went, all right, I better put some records out or something. So I started this thing called Creation. And my first 11 records, it was 7-inch singles, and I used to put them in plastic bags. And they all failed. And the first record we put out was absolute fucking shit. And the 12th one I put out was the Jesus and Mary Chain. And this was in 1984, so none of you were even born then. And I sold 50,000 records in the first week. And suddenly, I was in the music business. So I'd went from being this guy that had left school with no O-levels, had stopped going to school at 14, had basically ran away to London, was living in a squat, and had sold 50,000 records. So I then signed the band to Warner Brothers, and then the band bizarrely became big overnight. Because I don't know if any of you know what the Jesus and Mary Chain are, but they're kind of a feedback kind of band. But imagine the Ramones meets the Ronettes with feedback, and that's maybe not too far away from what it is. And we weirdly sold 500,000 records. So by this time I was 23. So we went on tour, And I had no clue about, getting a carnet or anything like that. Nothing, I had no clue. I had no idea how to even, book an American tour. So I tour managed the American tour, but we went and we kind of did well in America. We started playing to about, on the coast, about 4,000 people a night. And it kind of spiraled from there, It was like, I kind of managed them for about 3 years. And then eventually Creation started, we just signed a load of bands, and some of them started to work, like Primal Scream, The Valentines, House of Love, Ride, and they all started having hits. And it became, we nearly went bankrupt about 92. And then I had to do a deal with a major. So I did a deal with Sony, who paid off the debt and gave us a couple of million quid. So we thought that was as big as I ever thought we were going to get. And I thought Sony would soon remove me because they must have worked out that was a fucking head case.
How many years were you independent for?
And then what happened on from that was, because I was a drug addict from about 1988 to 1994, so I wasn't really that well. But in the middle of all that, about 93, I walked into this club, 4th of the bill, and this is what you guys are, Julia and Mr. Kilimanjaro. I really love music. I love David Bowie. That's what I really liked. It wasn't even like punk. I was a glam kid, really. And so I was there at this gig at King Tut's Wawa Hut. No doubt that you've played it, Julia. And Oasis came on. And I was like, oh, the singer's looks a bit like Ian Brown. The guitarist can really play. The guitarist has got no hair. It's a bit weird. And then, they got to I Am the Walrus. And I thought, oh, this is really going to fuck it up. And they played, and it was amazing. So I then went up to the sound guy, who I think had been sacked by the Teenage Fan Club for taking cocaine. But Oasis, of course, had basically employed him. And I said, oh, have you got a manager? No, they don't have a manager. That's probably somebody there. And I met Noel Gallagher, and I went, do you want a record deal? This is literally what happened. Do you want a record deal? And he went, who with? And I went, Creation. He went, yeah. And we shook on it. And he went, do you want a demo tape? And I went, no, I've seen enough. And he went and got me one of these little Union Jack tapes, gave me the tape. And all I thought at the time was, I'm going to sell 100,000 records if I beat the Stone Roses to the punch with the second album, right? And what happened was that we put the record out and it sold 7 million copies. So we quickly put the next record out and it sold 21 million copies. And it kind of just went on, do you know what I mean? And that really, it just kind of rolled on, do you know what I mean?
Amazing. So the industry has changed a lot since your days of Creation.
Massively.
What advice would you give to anyone trying to start in the music business now?
Just don't give in, because the amount of times people have told me to pack it in is huge. I mean, I think everybody sitting here has probably been told by their parents or by their best friends or whatever, or by their boyfriends or their girlfriends to pack it in. You just don't give in, because you will make it if you just keep going. Do you know what I mean?
Persistence is key. You've got a new record label. What is it called? It's called Clark and McGee?
Yeah, I'm trying to make it sound like a butcher shop.
You've succeeded. So tell us about it.
I didn't actually want a record label, and Warner's kept trying to give me a record label, and I was saying, can you just sign my artist? And I said, no, can you do a record label? So eventually I said, okay, I'll do a record label. And we called it Clark and McGee.
Where did the name come from? Obviously, yours.
Well, there's a guy called Mick Clark and I'm Alan McGee, so it's Clark and McGee Limited.
So it's both of you that run the label?
Yeah. Well, Mick signed Soul to Soul, and he signed Left Field. So Soul to Soul were like before Oasis, but they got a lot of people like me into Acid House because they tunes. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so we're just two old guys. I'm 55 and he's 59, so combined age 114. And it's a happening business out there. Watch it, kids. And we just I don't know. He's kind of more bonkers than I am, actually, weirdly. And I'm the sane person, which is kind of frightening. But it's like, yeah, we found a kid, Willow Robinson, and he's amazing. He's Bruce Robinson's kid. I don't know if any of you know who Bruce Robinson is, but he wrote Whitney and I. And he just lives down the road from me. I'm friends with Bruce and Sophie's mum. There you go. And I bought a chapel when they hacked my phone because they thought I was shagging Courtney Love and I wasn't. So they hacked my phone. So I got a load of money out of Rupert Murdoch and I bought a chapel and I put on little gigs.
So can you share some of your most memorable semi-PG stories from your kind of creation, Pop Tones days?
I could share it with you, but I'd probably get arrested.
Have you seen the Kill Your Friends movie?
I think I might. Yeah, John. I'm friends with John, Nicola, and he says that I'm one of the characters, and he won't tell me what. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know what one I am. I used to, because I used to be a monster. I'm actually quite calm these days, but I used to be horrible, and you know. But unfortunately, it does help sometimes, and which is in absolute opposition to what Ian was saying. But it's like, but it did help me being horrible. But yeah, just you just get on with it and do it.
So you have a choice: be really lovely or be horrible. There we go, guys.
It's actually
thank you so
more
much.
fun being horrible.
Round of applause. Okay, we could probably talk for hours, but we are on the clock. Okay, finally, let's welcome Emma Van Duyts, who's going to tell you about how you can carve out a career in PR, in music.
PR, darling.
PR,
I'm not
darling.
like that at all. I'm probably the most un-PR publicist in the industry. My whole thing, my whole ethos for my company is if you don't like the band, don't work with them. I worked for Warner Brothers for 14 years. Obviously Alan and everyone along the panel has talked about their passion for music. And I think first and foremost, if you want to work in the music industry, that needs to be your focus, because it's not all about going out to parties and going to shows and hanging out with rock stars and yeah, that's part of it. But everyone is a human being at the end of the day. And that's kind of the first and foremost thing you need to remember, is that you need to do your job. So my job as a publicist is to get bands in magazines, basically, is kind of the long and short of it. When I was a kid, I used to read Smash Hits, which is sadly no longer a magazine. So say the comparative would be, I don't know, the Pop Kerrang, right? And every week I would get this magazine and I would obsess over it. I would see who was writing about who and who was doing that song, and that record was coming out, and I was listening to the charts, and I was going through all the songs that were coming out. I was absolutely obsessed. And I was 11. I was 11 years old, and I was like, I know exactly what I'm going to do with my life. And I think whatever career path you guys decide to take, just believe in yourself that you can do it. I started working at Warner's when I was 16 years old. I got my permanent job on my 17th birthday, and I'm now 38. I own my own company. I've done this for 22 years, which is frightening because I don't feel that old. I don't act that old. But, you have to kind of set the path for bands. So basically you'll take a band from the first record, or you'll go and see them at a small show and you'll be like, that's them, I'm going to do it. I did it with Linkin Park. The band was signed to Warner Brothers. They were in a demo phase. They gave me the records and they were like, you like all the metal stuff, you check this band out. And I was like, uh-oh, here we go. And I went into my boss and I was like, this band, we just signed them. I think they're going to be huge. And he's like, well, you do your thing and we'll just catch up. Linkin Park. Next thing you know, we're selling millions of records around the world. So my job is to get bands in magazines, as I said before. So the initial, phase of that was I was an intern. I made the tea. I did the press cuttings. I sent the mail outs. I answered the phones. I ran errands for everyone in the label. It didn't matter what anyone needed me to do. I just did it, because I figured at some point I'm going to learn something from everybody, And yeah, there's the people who are amazing and are super nice, and then there's the people that are friggin' horrible, and you're just like, oh my God, you're the worst person on the planet, but I'm going to make you a cup of tea because I'm a nice person and I'm going to just get on with my job. And then you build your career as you go. So for me, getting bands in magazines was what I needed to do. So, and getting the covers, your first cover is a huge achievement, and you're like, you got it framed, and you get it up on the wall, and you're like, I did that, I helped that band, you know? But at the end of the day, they're not all your best friends. So again, it kind of comes around to keeping humble, doing your job. We work in the greatest industry in the world, hands down. It's awesome. You go to shows, you get to hang out with people, you do all the stuff that you're like, oh man, should I be doing this? Like, I'm pinching myself because, 3 weeks ago, I was in proms in the park hanging out with the Jacksons. You tell me that when I was 11 years old, oh yeah, 20 years in the future, you're going to be hanging out with the Jackson family? I would have been like, shut up, come on, But these things happen, and it's super cool. You just keep it cool, keep humble, do your job. Like for me, just do that PR route, so you're talking to people all the time, you're talking to magazines, you're just sort of paving the way for a band, and however you can do that is kind of what you do. That's your job. So if a band have got a good angle on a record, or the music primarily is the thing that you want to be amazing, and for me that's kind of my ethos, is if it's not good, don't work it. So I can call Kerrang and go, check out this new band called Beartooth, they're the best thing I've heard in a really long time, and they'll go, I'll check it out, I'll give it. And then the next thing, you get a feature in a magazine, then you get the album reviews, and then the shows are happening, so you send them to the shows and you do live reviews. And this is how you kind of build a band's career, not only yourself, but your entire team around you. So your agents, your promoters, your label people, your A&R, everyone has to work as a team, or it doesn't work at all. So that would be my thing, Just do your damn job, basically,
Do a job. Thank you so much, Emma, guys. Round of applause.